Hi there, and welcome to Testing Grounds, Strata's podcast on all things testing and inspection. I'm your host, Owen Chandler, a senior consultant in the consumer products testing and inspection space, focused in the US and in Europe. So today we're taking a step outside of the wireless testing industry into sustainability and softlines, and I'm joined here by Raffaela. Now, Raffaela, can you share a little bit more with our listeners what you're actually responsible for at TÜV SÜD?
Sure, Owen. Hello, everyone. Well, my story of TÜV SÜD started 19 years back, and actually, during the last years, I am leading the services development for sustainability,
Mm,
digitalization, and global market access for the softline sector within the
excellent.
division called Product Service. So, a
Amazing.
lot of challenges every day, and obviously, especially sustainability, where innovation is behind every corner. It is
Yeah,
really requesting a lot of efforts to develop new services.
amazing. Amazing. And yeah, we'll get into what those challenges are, in this podcast. But this is something I ask all my guests because it's, testing and inspection isn't an industry that many people know about, ironically enough. So how did you enter the industry?
It was just a case. So, I mean, I was working on my research thesis on fair trade products and the consumer behavior and perception toward those products. And okay, there was this opportunity. I was working on my thesis all night. So I went for the interview. I really was not expected to be taken for that role. It
Yeah,
was the role of medical devices assistant, but it happened.
excellent.
And after that, actually, at that point of time, I didn't know, like the majority of the people, what was a certification body.
Yeah,
And I could not imagine that there was a so big chunk of business and this sector
yeah,
was so big. So it was
absolutely.
totally not expected. But then it became actually my passion
Yeah,
because I was having the chance to really develop in many directions. I was having the chance to develop from scratch the new softline business in the
yeah.
organization, together with other valuable pioneer in this sector. We were founding this. It was 2008, so many, many years back. And yes, and actually, TÜV SÜD is really offering all the time new challenges for your career. And especially, you have really a lot of freedom to follow the client's needs and to build up things in this company. So
Excellent.
that's why I like very much to stay here.
Well, it's a really good segue onto what I wanted to ask next. I mean, you've obviously seen the industry change a lot in that time. And yeah, in terms of the growth of sustainability, people I talk to in the industry, Softlines specifically has always been seen as an industry that has very little innovation, especially when you compare it to, electrical products and the cybersecurity industry. But, how have you seen that change, especially in the last couple of years with the rise in sustainability laws?
Well, let's say that it is a, I think that the impression that there is not innovation in softline is because the product look always the same, right? So we have always wear the same t-shirt, same
Yeah,
boots, same trousers, but the technology behind every single step and all the effort from the innovation perspective that are done in order to make more sustainable the entire process are amazing. Just
yeah,
think about all the innovation within the chemical industry. Chemical industry, so most of the consumer, they really do not perceive immediately the relationship between chemical industry and fashion. But chemical industry is one of the pillar of the fashion industry. And chemical industry is really, especially after, with this new engagement on detoxifying the world, started by Greenpeace campaign in 2011, really is moving a lot toward the chemical to zero approach, so to avoid any risky chemical for human health and environment. And this is done through innovation. The
mm,
process of water saving, we increase a lot and we decrease a lot the number of water used for our processes in the fashion
yeah,
industry. The same, the efficiency of the wastewater plant, it has dramatically improved. So I will say that innovation is fully embedded in all the process of fashion. But we as consumer, we do not see because actually the final product for us, it looks always the same.
yeah, yeah. That's the perception I had coming into it because, yeah, the clothes don't seem to change that much, so it's hard to imagine what the actual changes are there. But and it's a really good point about where you see the rest of the industry because not to name loads of companies here, but obviously TÜV SÜD and Hohenstein, one of your competitors, are doing really well in the softline space because you've really thrown yourselves into the sustainability piece. Whereas, other tech players, it's no question that they've scaled back what they've been doing in softlines. So how do you think testing companies are competing in this new sort of sustainability area we're finding ourselves in?
Well, let's say that something the landscape is changing. It
Yeah.
is changing. Why? Because let's say this. Let's compare uh, the companies, a company to a human body. We
Yep.
have the skeleton, we have the blood, we have the
Mm.
organ, we have the brain. And I will say that you should think that in an organization, sustainability is affecting all the function, is affecting the skeleton,
Mm.
is affecting the brain, is affecting the blood. So actually now sustainability is in every process, is in every aspect of the process and of the product. So because now sustainability is so important at many stages, it's obvious that now we do have as well the competition, let's say, in the market that is also open for different
Yeah.
let's say stakeholders. We have the certification body, we have
Mm.
the solution provider, we have the advisory services, we have as well the controlling companies that are working in this sector now.
Excellent.
Because, as I said, so just think that also now for the stock option company is mandatory to release together with a financial report, the sustainability report.
Yeah.
So it is really sustainability is becoming part of every process. And that's why also the opportunities for the stakeholder that are offering services related to sustainability are increasing. And so obviously the competition is also differentiating.
Yeah.
So I can have for a certain service the classical competitor in the solution provider that I have since years. But in new sector, maybe I will face new competition that before it was not actually a competition for me.
Well, this is something you brought up in one of our conversations leading up to this podcast. So you find yourself competing more against the consulting firms than traditional test houses these days. And obviously mentioned that's really a sign of the changing times into what companies actually need in the regulatory process.
Mhm.
So this is a point that I really want to dig into here. So there is obviously so many different avenues you can go down, supply chain advisory, digital passports, the Green Deal as a whole in the EU. So, I mean, just how far down the rabbit hole does this go? I mean, how complex can it get? Because a digital passport is still something I don't think I fully understand.
It can be super complex.
Yeah,
Also because of the sustainability services. So I was telling you at the beginning that my job actually is on main two pillars, digitalization and sustainability.
yeah,
And they are strongly embedded. So
mm,
also when you are developing services in the area of sustainability, you cannot offer only a service without considering, for example, the importance of the software for data mining, to collect the data, to
yeah,
make sure to trace the project. You were citing the digital passport, for example. For the digital passport is essential to have a traceability tool along the supply chain. And so it is becoming more and more difficult also for the company to have to offer an holistic approach. So
yeah,
where you can really support in each and every single stage. And that's why very often at the client level, there is also a fragmentation of the different stakeholder because they are right in a sort of way. So they are looking for the best based on the type of service.
mm,
So, and also just think also about this thing that anyway, all this thing about sustainability is still new.
yeah,
So also these companies, we do have also a lot, especially in innovation of startup companies. So you may have maybe 10 traceability software. All of them, they are quite valid
right,
with their approach, but still not so many clients, each of them, because it's
Yeah.
just at the beginning. So we have this fragmentation happening. And at the same time, in this moment, I do not see a leading company
Yeah.
for the sustainability. And I
So
think this is good because it's making all the competition be challenged to always look for improvement in the services and in the processes.
yeah, look, I genuinely had no idea. Maybe I should pretend I do, but I really, in terms of the data heavy approach, where companies are at, I agree. Competition is always good. Um, so in terms of feedback, yeah, look, it's up to the companies to be guiding those products to where they need to be. And one thing, again, I brought this up to quite a few people. I've spoken to individuals in different companies, and I always get different answers. I mean, when you look at the EU elections and the changing parties there definitely seems to be a move to more, still not a full right wing government, but right wing parties are gaining seats. When you look at the Green Party in the EU Parliament, have lost a lot of seats. Now you have that contrasted with the fact you've still got the Green Deal, you've still got all these sustainability laws going ahead. So my question to you is, do you think these laws will get repealed and will take step backs, or do you think that process is already in motion now and sustainability is just where the industry is going?
Well, this is a tough question, Owen. I mean,
You might not
so
have the answer, but
yes, because so let's say, let's start from the other perspective. So
yeah,
my wish, obviously, as a European citizen and human being in this planet, is that the new commission that just onboarded yesterday, because
yeah,
yesterday there was the final vote, so it's really fresh. So today we are on the 28th of November, while recording this
yeah. That was a
podcast.
happy accident, really. I didn't plan it that way, but here we are.
So it was just yesterday. And let's see. Let's see. My hope is, as I said, that now there will be a new great push in the
Mm,
direction of activating because we were having some delay. So, like the deforestation regulation has been postponed on 1 year. Now we need to see when the ESPA requirement will pop up. We are waiting also for the digital passport requirement. So there are many things that we are waiting. So let's see in 25. At the same time, let's say that also at the COP29, again,
very
10
topical,
days
yeah.
back, also in that case, European Commission was not there to represent Europeans.
Mm,
And it was also from the objective, it was a defeat, let's say, for the environmental people like I am, also from the personal perspective.
yeah,
However, I still hope, and I also hope that European Union will understand that is not only important the regulatory framework, but is also important to invest on
yeah,
innovation. Coming back to the point at the beginning of our talk,
yeah.
because I was quite impressed. Again, 2 weeks back, as you know, I'm moving quite a lot. I was
Yeah, you're always traveling.
I was in a sustainability fair in Italy, in Rimini, called Ecomondo, one of the largest sustainability fair for Europe.
Mm,
And I was attending to several presentations, and I was impressed to see a slide when they were showing how much China is investing in innovation, how many
mm,
patents were registered during the last year, and how many patents were registered by Europeans and by Americans. So the graphic was like China here, Europe here, something like this.
wow. Puts in
And
perspective.
yes, this is making you think that you are having a country that is the largest steel consumption of for the fossil energy, but at the same time is hugely investing in
Mm,
renewable energy, in e-vehicle batteries, and in all this kind of stuff. And I just have the feeling that we in Europe, we risk really to be out of the decisions, because if we miss innovation, we are going to miss a leading position in this. So
yeah.
you cannot only stake on regulatory framework to have a leading position in the world. I think you should continue to give your contribution in
Mm,
improving by innovation the sustainability and the environmental impact of our industry in this world.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, look, it was a big question and a great answer at that. And I'm interested, anyone that's listened to the podcast, I'd definitely be interested to hear your thoughts on that. And, to take this conversation forward then and get a little bit more into the weeds of the actual hands-on work and sustainability, because this is again something you educated me on. When we again return to Softlines specifically, we've got, I think you said something like 20% of our clothes, made of recycled materials. Now, we're obviously pushing for the sustainability piece, and that's obviously a great thing. But are the chemicals safe? How's that checked?
That's a very clever question, Owen. And let's say it is a question, who knows, me. So just to make you a very quick a quick story about the
Mm,
recycled content. So it is true, one of the requirements expected to pop up in the ESPR is minimum of 20% of recycled content in our product. And then in this moment, recyclability, recycle process is mainly done mechanically. What does it mean? That I am mechanically dividing all the parts and then preparing new material to be summed up with virgin material, because
mm,
actually the more the material is recycled, the more the strength of the material and the property of the material is fading.
right.
But at the same time, since it is a mechanical recycling, I'm here talking about synthetic fiber,
Mm,
I am actually not working on the chemistry
yeah,
of those products. So what is happening? It is happening that if I'm recycling garments that maybe are or plastics, because we also use, for example, air pet plastic to make polyester fibers,
mm,
recycle pet materials, polyesters, is retrieved and recycled. Maybe you can find also products that were made or not following the regulation or before the regulation impact. And so what it doesn't mean that you still have toxic chemicals in this material. And this history, this chemical history of the product is remaining also on the final product.
yeah,
Then, as I mentioned, you will have it diluted because obviously it is mixed up with other recycled material. And as I said, normally the recycled material is made with a percentage of new material to make sure of the physical property. But you have this risk. So at the
mm,
moment, there is no way to monitor apart testing. But
yeah,
also this is an issue because obviously each batch of recycled material could be changed compared to the other one. Unless you are not having a direct recycling process. So the brand XYZ of the plastic bottle is asking for specific recovery. So is recovering this brand.
yeah,
So they have the traceability of the chemistry and they are putting again the product, but this is not really so much possible.
yeah,
Also because just thinking about the logistic distribution and all the markets affected and so on, we cannot have really control even at the batch side. So the solution for what concern the plastic recyclability, the recycling process, it would be to have a chemical
yeah,
recycling. But chemical recycling, and that's why innovation is important, is we needed to still to innovate, to find a less expensive way in order to
yeah,
allow and make this type of recycling accessible to the main stakeholders.
yeah. I remember you telling me a bit of a morbid story, really, about one individual talking about PFAS, and they're not really overly concerned anyway because it's so far into the food chain. So it's definitely
That's
it's
my
definitely an uphill battle.
PFAS are my nightmare because as I told you, I'm not doing this job only because it is a job. It is also my passion.
Yeah,
Environment is a passion. I'm a diver in my private life. I'm
yeah,
collecting plastic on the sea. So I'm fully concerned about this thing. And when I'm studying to record my podcast episode, we will talk later about the podcast. I
absolutely.
always make research, you know. And
Yeah.
so, for example, this summertime, I was shocked by a scientific article that it was saying that now PFAS were studied that they could also penetrate through the skin.
Mm.
So just think about the sunscreen cream in order to protect you from the UV ray. They found PFAS because they contain PFAS in order
Yeah.
to have the water repellent functionality, for example. And then these PFAS are penetrating in your skin.
Mm.
And then I was discussing with a friend of mine working in TÜV SÜD, one of the highest chemical experts we have. And then he was saying, Rafa, don't worry. And I said, oh, I should not. Why? PFAS are not so dangerous. And he said, no, now they are also affecting in the food chain.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they are forever chemical, as they call.
Yeah.
So this is something, and I think obviously we cannot change the past. We have to
Yeah.
keep them, but definitely all the efforts of any industry should be to stop the use immediately.
Yeah. 100%. Leading on from that, then, we were talking about an example of, retailers and, fast fashion, and how that can actually be sustainable, especially when we're talking about products that cost maybe €2. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh, so €2. So, and fast fashion actually is a big challenge to be sustainable in the fast fashion and in the super fast fashion industry. €2 to a product in this is my personal opinion. I'm just wondering if all the supply chain, all the single aspect, all the single elements that are making this project, if someone or somewhere in this value chain something is not going wrong. Because if a product is sold at €2, normally the cost of production are 10 times less, so 20 cents. So this is another big issue, and we are having a lot of regulatory framework popping up on this. Just think about all the due diligence laws that are in Europe, but are also made by single government like France, like Germany. So because it's not only important how you produce, but it's also important how you are managing your supply chain and how you are ensuring the standard of social, of governance and environment in your supply chain. So in my feeling, it will not be so long possible to have this product at this price.
Yeah.
And then obviously the other important aspect when I look at the project of the product of €2 is again, we were talking also previously about the circular economy concept. So the fact that actually now the industry will be requested to spend more efforts in making sure that the product is sustainable. Because if you look at the product not in a linear manner, but in a circular manner, then you will need to invest, again, innovation and controls in all the phases of the production. If I'm making a product with 20% recycled content and I'm claiming this in the market, but then this product is not reusable, is not durable, then at the end, I'm making a product where that the shelf life will be very short. So am I still sustainable? Only because I was using 20% of recycled content? So let's say that, it is not tricky to be sustainable, but not only, I will say, for the fast fashion, in general, for the entire fashion concept.
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, it's such a good point. And I think this comes up in lots of different industries. I think not that we're going to get down that rabbit hole now, but wind power. When you look at how these turbines are actually made, they're made from unsustainable materials. So it really is a catch-22. So it just exists in every industry, and this is actually a really nice segue into your own podcast. Not to be confused with TÜV SÜD's other podcast, but 100% made in sustainability. Look, obviously you've recorded a few episodes now, so maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, this podcast actually, when I was creating this podcast, I was understanding that all the concepts about sustainability are confusing.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, during the last years, sustainability has been used a lot as well for marketing purposes. So
100%.
the majority of the concepts, so people really, and greenwashing is everywhere. So I was understanding that consumer and as well our customer, because the podcast is, let's say you are establishing a dialogue with your client that is not a B2B dialogue, but a B2C dialogue. Really, maybe they just want a very simple explanation with not so much opinion, but based on clear and easy concept. So that's why I was proposing this, and together with the global technical team of TÜV SÜD in sustainability, because we have now a big corporate structure on sustainability going on, and also
Yeah.
in our division product service, we have different hubs. We were deciding the topic. So the topic, we started with 8 topics. So the starting ones, let's say, so we started about the relationship between fashion and sustainability. Then we are discussing about the regulatory frameworks on sustainability and fashion. We talk about CO2 emission. We are talking about water footprint, chemical substances, and so on. So we were picking up eco-design, the biggest concept. And we explain in 8 minutes because
Yeah.
I want the
I was going to say
podcast.
it has a unique format, so 8 minutes.
Yeah, 8 minutes. It is a pill. It is something that I want just to accompany for a short trip by car. I do not want something that you really have to concentrate on. I
Yeah.
want something that is okay. I'm listening to it. I'm getting a knowledge today. I'm getting something new, but without to plan to listen to the podcast of TÜV SÜD for 1 hour.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely.
So this is the concept, and the purpose is really to make concepts that are not so easy to understand, because you can only start your change in sustainability only when you know the
Yeah.
basics.
And I
To
think this podcast has really covered how difficult that can be. Even in 30 minutes, there's a lot. And I know you've been posting on LinkedIn as well, and you've been helped with the graphics, I think, by TÜV SÜD, which obviously visualizes it. So I'll definitely tag your next episode to this, I think. I mean, what are you going to be discussing next? What's your next topic?
Well, there are many topics that are, let's say, in the pot in this
Right.
moment.
Okay.
So for sure, obviously also the podcasts are very, in order to be, in my opinion, attractive, it must be on hot topic. So in this
Yeah.
moment, as I said, a hot topic is PFAS, hot topic is microplastic. I was just reading 10 days back about the thing that our brain is containing 1/3 of a bottle of 1.5 liters of Coca-Cola of plastic. It's huge, right? So,
Wow.
I
That
mean,
does put some perspective.
and so I think we will discuss about microplastic.
Yeah.
Also because in the fashion industry, we do have a lot of initiative as well led by Microfiber Consortium and ADHC on this aspect. Then digital passport is on my radar, but obviously I will make the podcast as soon as the requirement will be ready.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. It's
Because
changing so much.
also what I want to avoid is to describe something where the facts are still not here, are
Yeah.
still not there, you know?
Yeah,
Because if not,
definitely.
I am making listening 8 minutes, okay, so not so much time, but about one topic where there is no certainty.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And that's the thing about it being so quick because these laws are constantly changing. So you can constantly keep on updating that. And yeah, someone doesn't have to sit through a 30-minute podcast like they've just done here. But honestly, sadly to say, I think we're probably out of time here. And genuinely, we've talked about so much. I've definitely learned a lot here, and I'm sure our listeners have too. For anyone that actually does have any more questions, to Rafaela specifically about this, look, I'd happily put you in touch because like you could easily talk about this for weeks on end, never mind 30 minutes. So, genuinely, Rafaela, really pleased that you had this conversation with me. Thanks for being a good sport and coming on board.
Thank you so much, Owen. And it was a great pleasure to talk with you about sustainability.
Excellent. See you later.